In the dim, smoke-harzed glow of O'Malley's bar on the outskirts of a forgotten Rust Belt town, the air thickened with the sharp tang of spilled beer and the low rumble of laughter from a group of leather-clad bikers who had rolled in like a storm cloud an hour earlier. The place was alive with the usual Friday night chaos, pool cues clacking, glasses clinking, and the jukebox belting out old rock anthems that echoed off the peeling wallpaper. But in an instant, everything shattered. One of the bikers, a towering figure with a scarred face and arms like twisted steel cables, lunged forward in a haze of drunken bravado, his massive hand snagging the collar of the young waitress's faded uniform shirt as she balanced a tray of drinks. With a savage rip that tore through the fabric like paper, he exposed her bare shoulder and chest to the stunned room. The bar erupted in crude hoots at first, but then his eyes locked on what lay beneath. A jagged, puckered scar running from her collarbone down to her sternum, a brutal testament to survival that no one could have imagined. The laughter died in throats like embers snuffed out, the room freezing into a tableau of wide-eyed silence as the biker's face drained of color, his grip loosening as if he'd touched a ghost. What he saw wasn't just skin, it was a story etched in flesh, one that would unravel the hearts of everyone there and transform a moment of cruelty into an unbreakable bond of redemption. If you believe in the power of kindness and second chances, hit that like button, drop a comment below sharing your own story of unexpected compassion, share this video with someone who needs a reminder that people can change, and subscribe to Kindness Speaks for more tales that touch the soul and inspire the heart. Emily had always been the quiet force holding O'Malley's together, her slender frame weaving through the crowded tables with a grace that belied the exhaustion etched into her features. At 28, she looked older than her years, her hazel eyes carrying the weight of a life that had dealt her blow after blow. Raised in a trailer park on the edge of town, where the wind howled through cracked windows and dreams seemed as distant as the city lights on the horizon, Emily had learned early that survival meant swallowing pride and pushing forward. Her mother had passed when she was just a girl, leaving her with a father whose love came wrapped in the haze of whiskey bottles and regret. School had been a fleeting escape, but by 16, she was working odd jobs to keep the lights on, her aspirations of becoming a nurse fading like morning mist. Then came the accident, a rainy night on a slick highway, her beat-up sedan hydroplaning into a guardrail, the impact crumpling metal and shattering her world. Doctors said it was a miracle she survived at all, but the internal injuries were catastrophic. Her heart, battered and failing, clung to life by threads until a donor match appeared like a lifeline from the unknown. The surgery left her with that scar, a zipper-like reminder of the fragility of existence, hidden beneath her clothes as she rebuilt her life one grueling shift at a time. Waitressing at O'Malley's wasn't glamorous. It was a grind of sore feet, leering patrons, and tips that barely covered rent for the tiny apartment she shared with her aging cat. But it was steady, and in a town where jobs evaporated like rain on hot asphalt, steady meant everything. Yet, the harassment chipped away at her spirit, the catcalls, the unwanted touches, the way men like those bikers treated her as if she were part of the scenery, disposable and unseen. She endured it with a tight smile, burying the pain deep where it festered, wondering if anyone would ever see beyond the surface to the warrior she had become. Jax Harlan, the biker who would unwittingly become the catalyst for change, carried his own invisible scars, ones that twisted his soul far deeper than the tattoos snaking across his broad back. At 45, he was a relic of the open road, his Harley his only constant companion since the day his world imploded 5 years earlier. Once a mechanic in a bustling garage, Jax had a family, a wife who laughed like wind chimes and a daughter, Lily, whose bright eyes could melt the hardest heart. Lily was his everything, a spirited teenager with dreams of traveling the world, her laughter filling their modest home with light. But fate is cruel and indiscriminate. A drunk driver on a foggy evening stole her away in an instant, the crash leaving Jax shattered and his marriage crumbling under the weight of grief. In the aftermath, he authorized organ donation, a final act of love that allowed Lily's heart to beat on in someone else's chest. It was supposed to bring solace, but instead, it hollowed him out, turning him into a wandering ghost clad in leather and rage. He joined a biker crew, the Iron Wolves, seeking brotherhood in the roar of engines and the numbness of dive bars. Nights blurred into a cycle of booze and brawls, his temper a hair trigger that masked the ache gnawing at his core. O'Malley's was just another stop on our endless loop, a place to drown sorrows with cheap whiskey and rowdy comrades. That night, the air was thick with tension. Jax had argued with a fellow rider over some trivial slight, his blood boiling as the alcohol fueled his demons. When Emily brushed past, her tray wobbling under the load, he saw red, not at her, but at the universe that had robbed him. His hand shot out instinctively, a misguided grab for control in a life spinning out of it. The bar that evening pulsed with an undercurrent of unease, the regulars nursing the drinks while casting wary glances at the iron wolves clustered in the corner booth. Laughter boomed from their table, crude jokes flying like darts, but Emily moved through it all with practiced detachment, her mind drifting to the stack of medical bills waiting at home. The scar on her chest itched under the fabric, a phantom reminder of the transplant that had given her a second chance but also chained her to a regimen of pills and checkups that drained her savings. She had inked a small tattoo beside it shortly after recovery, a delicate lily flower blooming from the scar's edge, with the date of the surgery etched below, a symbol of gratitude to the anonymous donor whose gift had pulled her from the brink. It was her private talisman, a whisper of hope amid the chaos. As she approached the biker's table with a fresh round of beers, Jax's eyes, glazed and stormy, locked onto her. In his muddled state, her polite deflection of a lewd comment ignited something primal. He rose unsteadily, his frame towering over her, and in a blur of motion, his fingers hooked her shirt collar. The rip echoed like a thunderclap, the fabric giving way to reveal the pale skin marred by that vivid scar and the blooming lily tattoo. Time seemed to stretch, the bar's clamor halting as eyes turned toward the scene. Jax's face contorted, not in triumph, but in dawning horror. His gaze fixed on the tattoo, the lily, identical to the one he had etched on his own arm in memory of his daughter, and the date below it, the exact day Lily's heart had been harvested and flown to a hospital 3 states away. The realization hit him like a freight train, his knees buckling as fragments of letters from the organ donation network flooded back, anonymous thank yous from recipients, one describing a young woman saved by a teenage girl's heart. The pieces clicked into place, this waitress, this stranger he had just humiliated, carried his daughter's heart beating within her chest. The silence that enveloped O'Malley's was profound, a vacuum where sound dared not intrude. Patrons who had been chuckling moments before now stared in frozen disbelief, their expressions shifting from amusement to a collective gasp of empathy. Jax's hand trembled as he released the torn fabric, stepping back as if scorched, his rough features crumbling into lines of raw vulnerability. Emily stood there, exposed not just physically but emotionally, her arms instinctively crossing over her chest, tears welling in her eyes from the violation. But in Jax's gaze, she saw something shift, not the predatory leer she feared, but a mirror of her own pain, a recognition that transcended words. The other bikers, sensing the gravity, lowered their heads, the rowdiness evaporating like mist. One by one, heads turned, whispers rippling through the room as the story began to unfold in hushed realizations. Jax sank into a chair, his massive frame deflating, memories assaulting him, Lily's final smile, the sterile hospital room, the emptiness that followed. He had wandered for years, searching for meaning in the void, never imagining that a piece of his daughter lived on so close, in this unassuming woman who poured drinks and endured the world's indifference. Emily, too, felt the weight of the moment, her mind racing back to the anonymous letter she had written to the donor family, pouring out her gratitude for the heart that allowed her to see another sunrise. The bar, once a den of fleeting escapes, transformed into a confessional of sorts, where strangers glimpsed the hidden fractures in each other's lives. As the initial shock ebbed, a subtle change rippled through the room, like the first light of dawn piercing a long night. Jax, his voice lost but actions speaking volumes, shrugged off his leather jacket and draped it gently over Emily's shoulders, shielding her from prying eyes. The gesture was tentative, almost reverent, a silent apology that carried the weight of his shattered past. Emily accepted it with a nod, her own walls cracking under the unexpected tenderness. The bartender, a grizzled veteran named Hank who had seen his share of barroom dramas, flicked off the jukebox, letting the quiet deepen. Patrons began to stir, not with anger, but with a newfound respect. Offers of help murmured, a few slipping extra bills into the tip jar as they filed out. For Emily, this was the turning point she hadn't known she needed. The exposure, though humiliating, peeled back layers of isolation, revealing her strength to a world that had overlooked it. She had struggled alone for so long, battling the physical toll of her new heart, fatigue that crept in like fog, the fear of rejection lurking in every heartbeat, and the emotional scars of loss and survival. But now, in this unlikely communion, she felt seen, truly seen, for the first time. Jax, too, found a spark of healing. The rage that had defined him began to thaw, replaced by a protective instinct toward this woman who carried his legacy. In the days that followed, he returned to O'Malley's not as a conqueror, but as a guardian, helping with heavy lifts and warding off troublemakers with a mere glare. Their bond grew quietly, forged in shared grief, walks by the river where stories flowed like water, revelations of Lily's vibrant life mirroring Emily's own dreams deferred. The town whispered about the miracle in the bar, how a moment of violence birthed unexpected grace, inspiring others to reach out in small acts of kindness. Emily's challenges had always loomed large, shadows that stretched across her path like unending dusk. Post-surgery, the world hadn't paused for her recovery. Bills piled up, her body rebelled with bouts of weakness that left her bedridden, and the loneliness gnawed at her spirit. She had pushed through, taking double shifts when her strength allowed, saving pennies for a future that seemed perpetually out of reach. Friendships were scarce, most people in town pitied her from afar, but few understood the daily battle of living with a borrowed heart, the constant reminder that her survival came at another's cost. Jax's eruption into her life forced her to confront these demons head-on, the rip of her shirt symbolizing the tearing away of her carefully constructed facade. At first, she resisted the change, retreating into her apartment with tears of humiliation, questioning why fate had chosen such a brutal unveiling. But as Jax persisted, showing up with coffee and quiet company, she began to open up, sharing the terror of waking in the hospital, the gratitude mingled with guilt for the donor's family. Jax, in turn, revealed his own abyss, the nights staring at Lily's empty room, the guilt of surviving when she didn't, the nomadic life that kept pain at bay but never healed it. Their struggles intertwined, each finding solace in the other's resilience. Emily started to dream again, enrolling in online nursing courses with Jax's encouragement, her scar no longer a badge of shame but a mark of triumph. The bar itself evolved, Hank implementing new rules against harassment, the patrons treating Emily with deference that bordered on reverence. Suspense built in subtle waves. Would Jax's crew accept this softer side, or pull him back into the fold? Would Emily's body betray her again, the heart faltering under stress? But change came steadily, like a river carving stone, eroding old habits and revealing new paths. Months turned the incident into legend, a story retold over drinks with hushed awe, how one man's recklessness unveiled a connection that mended broken souls. Jax traded his wandering ways for roots, opening a small garage in town where he fixed bikes and mentored wayward kids, channeling his grief into purpose. Emily flourished, her laughter returning like a long-lost friend, the Lily tattoo a bridge between past and present. Their relationship deepened not into romance, but a profound familial tie, Jax seeing echoes of Lily in Emily's determination, Emily finding a father figure in his steadfast support. The town, once fractured by indifference, knit closer, small acts rippling outward, neighbors checking on the elderly, strangers paying it forward in quiet ways. It was as if that frozen moment in the bar had thawed hearts long encased in ice, reminding everyone that beneath the surface, we all carry scars, and in revealing them, we find our shared humanity. Emily's struggles, once solitary burdens, became shared victories, her second chance inspiring others to seize their own. Jax, redeemed from his shadows, discovered that healing wasn't about forgetting, but about honoring the lost through living fully. The bar, O'Malley's, stood as a beacon, its walls echoing with stories of transformation, where disrespect had bowed to awe, and laughter reborn from silence carried the warmth of true connection. As the sun sets on this tale of unexpected grace, where a single act of thoughtlessness blossomed into a lifetime of kindness, let it stir something deep within you. If this story has touched your heart, reminding you of the hidden stories we all carry and the power of second chances, please like this video, share it with a friend who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Speaks for more emotional journeys that move the soul. Before we end, I have a special request. Comment below with the words, "Kindness changes everything," if this story inspired you to look a little deeper at the people around you.